is the use of deceptive practices in connection with any conspiracy for the purpose of impairing, obstructing, or defeating the lawful function of any department of government. And conspiring to obstruct a joint session of Congress from certifying the election certainly qualifies as seeking to obstruct a lawful function of the government. And the committee generally alleges that Trump and his co-conspirators followed a 7-point plan. First, engage in a concerted effort to spread false information to the American public that the 2020 election was stolen. Second, to orchestrate a corrupt scheme between Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Representative Scott Perry to replace the acting attorney general who rejected Trump's fraud claims with Trump's DOJ ally Jeffrey Clark to use the Department of Justice to overturn the election. Third, to implement Eastman's plan to pressure Vice President Pence to refuse to count or delay the certification of the electoral count. Fourth, to pressure state election officials and state legislators to change election results. Fifth, to instruct Republicans to create false electoral slates in 7 battleground states and transmit those fake slates to Congress and the National Archives. Sixth, to summon up a mob in the U.S. Capitol. And seventh, during the attack on the Capitol, to ignore pleas for help and tacitly endorse the violence, including threats to hang Mike Pence. As for proof that individuals use deceitful or dishonest means, the committee says that there were 2 areas where Trump and his friends were deceitful, starting with their insistence the election was fraudulent and that Trump defeated Joe Biden. There's actually an incredibly damning chart on page 17 of the committee's report outlining what the lawyers were saying, that there wasn't election fraud, versus what Trump was saying, that there was mass election fraud. For example, Trump showed then Deputy Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen a videotape that supposedly showed a suitcase full of ballots. Rosen explained to Trump that this was actually, quote, a bin. That's what they use when they're counting ballots. It's benign. 1 week later, Trump repeated the conspiracy claim, quote, there is even a security camera footage from Georgia that shows officials telling poll watchers to leave the room before pulling suitcases of ballots out from under the tables and continuing to count for hours. Attorney General Bill Barr and Deputy AG Richard Donahue debunked Trump's Michigan and Pennsylvania voter fraud claims. But once again, Trump ignored what they were saying and made up his own facts. Trump followed the same pattern with other conspiracy theories about Dominion voting machines. And as to motive, the committee says that first of all, it helped Trump raise money. Quote, evidence gathered by the committee indicates that President Trump raised roughly $250 million in fundraising efforts between the election and January 6th. These solicitations persistently claimed and referred to the election fraud that did not exist. And the second reason Trump lied about election fraud was to obstruct the January 6th certification proceedings. Quote, Trump disregarded the rulings of the courts and rejected the findings and conclusions and advice from his Justice Department, his campaign experts, and his White House and cabinet advisors. He chose instead to try to overturn the election on January 6th and took a series of very specific steps to attempt to achieve that result. And this is all related to the third element of a conspiracy, that the person takes at least one overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. For Trump to achieve the desired result, he had to get Mike Pence to ignore the constitutional duties. You might recall that the 12th Amendment gives the vice president, in their role as the president of the Senate, the job of certifying the result of the presidential election. Quote, the president of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House of Representatives, open all of the certificates and the votes shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes for president shall be the president. The Electoral Count Act of 1887 reiterates that the vice president's role is ministerial, in that his job is just to count the votes, not to choose which votes to count and which to reject. But while Trump was being told that he lost the election, lawyer John Eastman and others, quote, devised a plan whereby Vice President Pence would, as a presiding officer, declare that certain electoral votes from certain states could not be counted at the joint session. John Eastman knew before proposing this plan that it was not legal. Despite knowing that the plan was illegal, Trump pursued it anyway, including for the 187 minutes when the attack happened. Congress was being evacuated to underground tunnels, and even after he was aware that the mob was chanting about hanging Mike Pence. Count 3 of the criminal referral refers to a conspiracy to make false statements under 18 U.S.C. 1001. This is the classic lying to the government provision. And this count was about Trump conspiring with other people to submit slates of fake electors to Congress and the National Archives. These certificates were patently false since Biden won each of those states, and the state's authorities certified Biden's victory. Now, in fairness, whether a statement or act is material for the purposes of Section 1001 can be a contentious issue. But here the report says that at best, quote, it can hardly be disputed that the false slates of electors were material, as nothing can be more material to the joint session of Congress to certify the election than the question of which candidate won which states. Indeed, evidence obtained by the committee suggests that those attempting to submit certain of the electoral votes regarded the need to provide that material to Vice President Pence as urgent. But the bigger question is whether the various people making the certificates and submitting them acted knowingly and willfully. Some of those individuals who signed their names to fake certificates said that they thought that they'd only be used if Trump prevailed in litigating in their states, paving the way for Trump's win in those states to be certified, making their fake certificates valid and okay to submit to the National Archives and to Congress. But that's not the case with most of the executive branch here, since Trump, acting through his co-conspirators like Eastman and Chesebro, relied on the existence of those fake electors as a basis for asserting that the vice president could reject or delay the certification of the Biden electors. The people who believed that they were serving as alternate electors in case Trump prevailed in court might not have known that Trump and Eastman were collecting the certificates for another reason, to persuade Pence to implement their illegal plan. But the committee alleges that the higher-ups, including Donald Trump, knew what they were doing and personally participated in this plan. Quote, the evidence is clear that President Trump personally participated in a scheme to have the Trump electors meet, cast votes, and send their votes to the joint session of Congress in several states that Vice President Biden won. And then his supporters relied on the existence of these fake electors as part of their effort to obstruct the joint session. And to prove an overt act in furtherance of a conspiracy, the committee relies on the testimony of Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. She told the committee that Trump and Eastman directly requested that the RNC organize the effort to have the fake electors meet and cast their votes, and that she complied with their request. And then the fourth count of the criminal referral is for inciting, assisting, or aiding an insurrection in violation of 18 U.S.C. 2383. Until the events of January 6, 2021, there had been no prosecutions under Section 2383 since the Civil War. The insurrection statute was enacted in 1862 as a precursor to the Emancipation Proclamation. And there was an 1863 Circuit Court case that held that the act was unconstitutional because it punished the same conduct as treason, and treason was only applicable if a foreign country levied war against the United States. Since 1863, the Supreme Court has implied, but has not yet ruled, that it would reject the insurrection as an end run around treason argument. President Trump was acquitted of incitement to insurrection in his second impeachment trial, but since this was not a judicial trial, there's no double jeopardy problem. However, it's not easy to get a conviction under the statute because it implicates the First Amendment. The committee relied on a recent court opinion to assert that Trump's speech wasn't protected by the First Amendment. In Thompson versus Trump, a judge on the DC Circuit ruled that the statements Trump made during his ellipse speech before the riot, quote, were plausibly words of incitement not protected by the First Amendment. This was a civil case where 11 members of the U.S. House of Representatives and 2 Capitol Police officers sued Trump seeking damages for physical injuries and emotional distress from January 6th. The court ruled that Trump would not necessarily be able to invoke presidential immunity in defending the claim. But you can imagine something that is arguably political speech is going to receive the highest amount of First Amendment protection, so we'll see how this one goes. The committee argues that it doesn't need to prove that Donald Trump was actually in contact with the actual rioters, or that there was evidence of an actual agreement between the president and the rioters. Quote, the president need only have incited, assisted, or aided and comforted those engaged in violence or other lawless activity in an effort to prevent the peaceful transition of the presidency under our Constitution. But as an interesting coda here, although the congressional criminal referrals carry no legal weight, Jack Smith, who Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed as special counsel in charge of looking into these crimes, at least as it regards Donald Trump and others in that orbit, sent a letter to the Select Committee requesting all the panel's materials from the 18-month probe. So the special prosecutor is looking into the evidence, if not the referrals themselves. But if the DOJ picks up the criminal referrals, whether they convict on any of these counts will largely depend on whether they can prove Trump's mental state. And luckily I made a video all about whether Donald Trump has the criminal intent necessary for conviction, but you can only see it with today's sponsor, CuriosityStream and Nebula. Because on Nebula, my videos always come out early with 0 ads. And I release exclusive content all the time, like this video that is exclusive about Trump's mental state. It was hard to make. Some would say, what mental state? Or an entire video about legal stories that are not safe for work because they're too hot for YouTube, as well as exclusive videos like things people misunderstand about the Constitution, why NFTs are bad for creators, and my first full-length documentary, Bad Law Words Good, and tons more, all exclusive to Nebula. Because Nebula is creator-owned and creator-operated, there's new exclusive content released every single day. In fact, Johnny Harris just signed with Nebula, and you can see all of his videos a week early only on Nebula first. And by the way, we've been developing Nebula like crazy. Nebula now has apps for iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, Android TV, and it was recently nominated for its 2nd Streamy Award. My fellow creators and I really care about Nebula, and we're thrilled to be partnering with CuriosityStream because they're the go-to source for the best documentaries and long-form educational content on the internet. They even have an entire section devoted to unsolved mysteries and crime, so if you like my videos, you'll love the thousands of titles on CuriosityStream. But the best way to get access to Nebula and all of this incredible incredible content is through the amazing CuriosityStream Nebula bundle deal, with its current sale of 42% off. That's less than $12 a year to get access to both sites. And to be clear, that Nebula subscription is not a trial, it's free for as long as you're a member of CuriosityStream. There just isn't a better deal in streaming where you get two great streaming sites with content that you'll actually watch, all for less than $12 for the entire year at its current sales price. And it's 42% off. So all you have to do is click on the link that's on screen right now or down in the description to get 42% off both CuriosityStream and get Nebula for free. So just click now on the link that's on screen or down in the description. It's a great way to support educational content and get tons of exclusive content that you'll actually love. So click right now. And after that, click on this playlist over here for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you in court. Donald Trump gets a special prosecutor. It's the biggest, most beautiful specialist counsel anyone has ever seen. No one's ever seen a prosecutor quite so special. Grown men were weeping at the sight of this counsel. That joke never gets old. In a Friday after the midterms news dump, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced that he has appointed a special counsel to conduct 2 criminal investigations related to Donald Trump. This is extremely big news that has so far kind of flown under the radar, but in all likelihood, this means big things. In a superabundance of caution, the Attorney General has decided that the Department of Justice can't investigate the former president because he's running for president again, and it would look political.
And isn't this sort of like double jeopardy? In the old days, they used to call it double jeopardy.
Enter the special counsel. No, not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
This guy. Jack Smith. Should Donald Trump celebrate? Does this mean that there will be a few more years of Trump escaping justice, or the prosecutions are just around the horizon? Well, by all accounts, Attorney General Merrick Garland is an institutionalist. Those that want to see a former president put in jail have criticized Garland for being too slow and too methodical, or just not doing anything. And although some Republicans predicted that Garland would use his office to exact some kind of revenge on Republicans, the opposite has largely been true. It appears that Garland decided not to prosecute Matt Gaetz or Rudy Giuliani. And now Garland has issued an order to appoint John L. Smith to serve as special counsel for the Department of Justice to conduct 2 ongoing investigations related to the former President Trump. Whether Trump unlawfully interfered with the 2020 presidential election and the certification of the Electoral College vote on January 6th, and whether Trump broke any laws when he removed classified documents and other presidential records from the White House to Mar-a-Lago. Now, Congress has delegated the authority of the Attorney General to appoint a special counsel. 28 U.S.C. 510 says the Attorney General may from time to time make such provisions as he considers appropriate, authorizing the performance by any other officer, employee, or agency of the Department of Justice of any function of the Attorney General. But the special counsel does have real independence. Under CFR section 600.7, the special counsel shall not be subject to the day-to-day supervision of any official of the department. However, the Attorney General may request that the special counsel provide an explanation for any investigative or prosecutorial step, and may after review conclude that the action was so inappropriate or unwarranted under established departmental practices that it should not be pursued. In concluding that review, the Attorney General will give great weight to the views of the special counsel. If the Attorney General concludes that a proposed action by a special counsel should not be pursued, the Attorney General shall notify Congress. And that section goes on to explain that the special counsel can only be removed for cause. Now, Garland's order is broader with respect to the first issue, the certification over the Electoral College vote. Quote, the special counsel is authorized to conduct the ongoing investigation into whether any person or entity violated the law in connection with efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election or the certification of the Electoral College vote held on or about January 6, 2021, as well as any matters that arose or might arise directly from this investigation or that are within the scope of 28 CFR section 600.4a. And continues, this authorization does not apply to prosecutions that are currently pending in the District of Columbia, as well as future investigations and prosecutions of individuals for offenses they committed while physically present on the Capitol grounds on January 6, 2021. That means that people who were on the Capitol grounds will continue to be prosecuted by the DOJ with the involvement of the special counsel. That means that the normies who are not in Trump's inner circle who were on the Capitol grounds will continue to be prosecuted by the DOJ without the involvement of the special counsel. The special counsel would be looking at the role that Trump and others who were not at the Capitol, but who were scheming for ways for him to stay in office. And as we've seen, this is a fairly complicated investigation that encompasses the plot to use fake electors in multiple states. It could also include investigation of people who planned the January 6 6 protests, which could lead higher up the chain. And the special counsel order does not impact ongoing state and local investigations, such as the Fulton County's probe into the fake elector plot. There's currently a grand jury considering evidence in that case right now, with possible defendants including Donald Trump and Senator Lindsey Graham. The special counsel will also take over the investigation into the Mar-a-Lago documents. Quote, the special counsel is further authorized to conduct the ongoing investigation referenced and described in the United States response to motion for judicial oversight and additional relief, Donald J. Trump versus United States, as well as any matters that arose or may arise directly from this investigation or that are within the scope of 28 CFR 600.4a. So, the question is, why a special counsel? The special or independent counsel at the federal level has been around in one form or another for almost 150 years. The first independent counsel was appointed by President Ulysses S. Grant to investigate corruption at the high level of federal government officials in his administration. And just how independent these special prosecutors were depended on the laws governing their appointment. After the fallout from Watergate, Congress passed the Ethics in Government Act of 1978, which authorized the appointment of independent counsels. Under the act, the Attorney General would conduct an initial investigation to determine whether an independent investigation was warranted. If it was, then a 3-judge panel of federal judges would appoint an independent counsel. That act was used to investigate Bill Clinton initially for his Whitewater real estate deals, which eventually turned into an investigation over his affair with Monica Lewinsky and obstruction of justice. In 1999, the statute expired and Congress did not reauthorize it, in part because the Democrats probably believed that the independent counsel was a little too independent. But obviously there was still a need for an independent investigative process. So in 1999, the DOJ promulgated regulations to establish procedures for the appointment of special counsels pursuant to the Attorney General's General Administrative Hiring Authority. Special counsels serve a similar role as independent counsels, but they have less independence. The Attorney General generally has the authority to appoint, supervise, and remove them. That said, we have an example where that kind of independence was directly challenged. Richard Nixon's Attorney General Elliot Richardson hired Archibald Cox as a special prosecutor relating to the Watergate affair. The AG had sole authority to fire Cox and only for extraordinary improprieties. But Nixon eventually tired of the investigation and ordered Richardson to fire Cox. Richardson famously refused and immediately resigned. Nixon then ordered Deputy Attorney General William Ruckelshaus to fire Cox. Ruckelshaus refused and also resigned. Nixon finally ordered Solicitor General Robert Bork, the number 3 of the DOJ, to fire Cox, and Bork complied. The special prosecutor was out of a job. So while the modern special counsel regulations contemplate independence, it's hard to refuse the head of the executive branch. The special counsel is funded by the Independent Counsel Appropriation, a permanent indefinite appropriation established in the Justice Department's 1988 Appropriations Act. And that means that the money comes from a permanent Treasury Department account and isn't subject to the annual appropriations process. And the Attorney General controls the special counsel budget, so Congress can't defund Jack Smith in this case. The special counsel reports directly to the AG, and if he determines that, say, Donald Trump should be charged, the special counsel has to notify Attorney General Garland. The regulation says, quote, the special counsel shall notify the Attorney General of events in the course of his or her investigation in conformity with the departmental guidelines with respect to urgent reports. Congress also has the right to know what the special counsel is doing. The regulation says, quote, the Attorney General will notify the chairman and ranking minority member of the judiciary committees of each House of Congress with an explanation for each action: 1, upon appointing a special counsel; 2, upon removing any special counsel; and 3, upon conclusion of the special counsel's investigation, including, to the extent consistent with applicable law, a description and explanation of instances, if any, in which the Attorney General concluded that a proposed action by a special counsel was so inappropriate or unwarranted under established departmental practices that it should not be pursued. So Congress will be notified about the outcome of the Trump-related investigations. But another question, why a special counsel now? Although some have questioned whether Garland made the right decision, the regulations seem to contemplate a situation like this. It states that the Attorney General will appoint a special counsel to conduct certain investigations or prosecutions, and those regulations are set forth in 28 CFR 600.1, which establishes a 3-part analysis for determining whether to appoint a special counsel. First, the Attorney General must determine that, quote, a criminal investigation of a person or matter is warranted. Then the Attorney General must determine whether the investigation or prosecution of the person or matter by the U.S. Attorney's Office or a Justice Department litigating division would present either a conflict of interest for the department or an extraordinary circumstance. Third, the Attorney General must consider whether it would be in the public interest to appoint an outside special counsel to assume responsibility in the matter. So while Garland's order doesn't specify on what grounds he appointed Smith, in his speech announcing the appointment, he said, quote,
based on recent developments, including the former president's announcement that he is a candidate for president in the next election, and the sitting president's stated intention to be a candidate as well, I have concluded that it is in the public interest to appoint a special counsel.
And in the next breath, he points out that Donald Trump had announced his candidacy to become president again, and President Biden had indicated that he would run for re-election. So those might indicate either an extraordinary circumstance or a conflict of interest between the sitting president and a potential future president. Though, on the other hand, there's an argument that there's no actual conflict of interest that would preclude the DOJ from handling investigations normally, just like they did before President Trump announced he was running for president. He is, after all, just a U.S. citizen at this point. Garland has been overseeing the investigation into the events of January 6th for 2 years, and any perceived conflict might have already existed during that time, and yet there was no special counsel at that point. Though certainly appointing Smith as special counsel has not eliminated political criticism. Senator Ted Cruz said that the timing of the appointment was proof that the investigation was politically motivated. Cruz said, quote, "3 days ago, Trump announced, and now there is a special counsel. This is Trump derangement syndrome, but this time with a gun and a badge." Meanwhile, the House Judiciary Committee attacked Smith's impartiality. Quote, "Jack Smith and his buddies have been politicizing Washington for ages, and he's who AG Garland picked to be the special counsel to, quote, investigate President Trump. Come on." And on the other end of the spectrum, people who believe that Trump committed crimes and got away with them have scoffed at the appointment of a special counsel. They contend that this investigation will end the way that the Mueller investigation did, with a report rather than a prosecution, though this doesn't seem to be totally accurate. First of all, the Mueller investigation did lead to 34 people and 3 companies to be indicted. And of course, President Trump was not one of those people, but there are reasons for that. You can certainly disagree with them, but there were reasons. The Attorney General has sole authority to determine the scope of the special counsel's inquiry, and then President Trump's attorneys general wanted to limit the special counsel's work. And under the mandate and Mueller's interpretation of that mandate, Mueller was not allowed to accuse President Trump of a crime. Now, Mueller was also constrained by the Office of Legal Counsel memo that says a sitting president cannot be indicted while he's in office. That memo's conclusion is controversial, and the Supreme Court has never ruled on that. However, the Justice Department employees do follow the OLC memo. So the Mueller report outlined over 10 instances of obstruction of justice that implicated Trump. However, even if Mueller had the authority to charge Trump, he believed that he was bound by the OLC guidance on indicting sitting presidents. The Smith appointment as special counsel is markedly different because Garland gave him a broad mandate to investigate and prosecute Trump if the evidence is there. The posture of the case is also very different. There were multiple grand juries weighing evidence that Trump interfered with the certification of the 2020 election and that he broke the law by taking documents to Mar-a-Lago. In addition, there's no memorandum or court case anywhere that suggests it's illegal to prosecute an ex-president. And Smith will have to follow the DOJ's guidance on when it is appropriate to recommend criminal charges. Section 9-27.220 of the DOJ's manual outlines the grounds for commencing or declining prosecution. It states, quote, "The attorney for the government should commence or recommend federal prosecution if she believes that the person's conduct constitutes a federal offense and that the admissible evidence will probably be sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction unless 1, the prosecution would serve no substantial federal interest, 2, the person is subject to effective prosecution in another jurisdiction, or 3, there exists an adequate non-criminal alternative to prosecution." So now you might be wondering, who is Jack Smith, the new special counsel? Well, he is a 50-year-old graduate of Harvard Law School who started his career as a prosecutor in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Smith then moved to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Brooklyn, where he worked on public corruption cases. Smith then spent 2 years as the investigation coordinator in the Office of the Prosecutor at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Smith supervised high-profile investigations of people wanted for war crimes and genocide. From 2010 to 2015, Smith was chief of the DOJ's Public Integrity Section, which investigates public corruption allegations. And while in that role, Smith investigated high-profile politicians on both sides of the aisle, which really seemed to piss off just about everyone. The Public Integrity Section was under fire for a case against former Senator Ted Stevens, which collapsed. During Smith's first few months on the job, he closed investigations into several Republican members of Congress. During his years as chief, the Public Integrity Section garnered a successful conviction against former Republican Governor Bob McDonnell, which was later unanimously overturned by the Supreme Court. And then the Obama administration chose not to continue prosecution after that reversal. Smith also pursued a case against Democratic vice presidential candidate and former Senator John Edwards, which resulted in a hung jury and a mistrial. Smith also helped lead the investigation into Democrat Bob Menendez, though he left the department a few months before the indictment, though Menendez was later acquitted. His team won a conviction against Representative Rick Renzi, a Republican from Arizona, who was sentenced to 3 years in prison, though Trump pardoned Renzi right before he left office in early 2021. For his own part, Smith said that the pace of the Trump investigation investigations would not slow down under his watch. He said, quote, "I intend to conduct the assigned investigations and any prosecutions that may result from them independently and in the best traditions of the Department of Justice." Mr. Smith said that in a statement, he vowed that the investigations would move forward expeditiously, quote, "to whatever outcome the facts and law dictate." Though the New York Times reports that Smith, quote, "will remain in the Netherlands for some time," according to the Justice Department, in order to recover from a recent bicycle accident. Though the 11th Circuit held oral arguments in the Mar-a-Lago case on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and although Smith remains overseas, the DOJ filed notice that he was on the case. Quote, "Special Counsel Smith has reviewed the filings in this litigation and approves all of the arguments that have been presented in the briefs and will be discussed at the oral argument in this case." Special Counsel Smith's name will be affixed to future pleadings filed in all matters falling within his appointment. So while the appointment of Jack Smith as special counsel gives a little bit for everyone to hate, net, it's probably not good news for former President Trump. Certainly, it probably means delays in the short term, but Jack Smith has an advantage over Robert Mueller, who had to hire investigators and prosecutors and start from scratch. Smith gets to hit the ground running. He'll supervise DOJ prosecutors who are already on the case, and the DOJ has issued subpoenas, served a search warrant on Mar-a-Lago, and are in court battling Trump over the appointment of the special master. And the special counsel has hit the ground running. Smith now oversees the ongoing investigation into Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, and Smith's office just issued subpoenas to elections officials in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, Dane County, Wisconsin, Wayne County, Michigan, and Maricopa County, Arizona. The subpoenas seek documents and communications they had with 19 people, including Trump and some of his most well-known associates, like loony lawyer Lynn Wood, Sidney the Kraken Powell, Rudy Giuliani, Cleta Mitchell, and Bernie Carrick. Realistically, the appointment of Smith probably does nothing to mollify the political critics of it, who will say that this is a political prosecution, but still, appointing a special counsel is probably still better than main justice under the aegis of A.G. Garland doing the prosecution. And while trying to figure out what's going to happen next is reading tea leaves, it probably doesn't mean that nothing is going to happen. In other words, Garland probably would not have appointed a special counsel if he had determined that no prosecution was warranted. And I think that Smith's experience shows that he prosecutes hard cases. Often the DOJ will only take a case if they think that they are sure to win, but it looks like Smith's record doesn't follow that adage. Public integrity cases are notoriously difficult, and the reason that the Supreme Court has overturned some of these convictions is that drawing the line between political action and bribery is very tough to do, let alone to get convictions in these politically sensitive cases. Though here, at least with respect to documents, that is a much simpler case than political bribery. But while Special Counsel Smith is resting his bicycle injury and getting up to speed, he'll want some legal audiobooks to listen to. He might enjoy John Grisham's new legal thriller, The Judge's List, on today's sponsor, Audible. It's all about a judge who is also a serial killer and uses the law against his investigators. Because a killer who knows how to manipulate the legal system is the scariest killer of all. Ooh. Now, I use Audible almost every day, and it's by far the best source of audio entertainment. I listen to audiobooks when I'm running, cleaning up, or when I'm supposed to be listening to friends and loved ones. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment all in one place. If you tried to listen to everything, it would take you 3 centuries. And as an Audible member, you'll get 1 credit every month that you can use on any title in their entire premium catalog. That includes basically every bestseller, new release, or memoir. Those titles are yours to keep forever in your Audible library. And you'll also get full access to their popular Plus catalog, which is filled with thousands and thousands of audiobooks, original entertainment, guided fitness and meditation, sleep tracks, and shows. All are included with your membership, no credits needed. And right now, Audible is running a special promo. New Audible members get a free 1-month trial. You can try it out and see why everyone loves Audible. All you have to do is go to audible.com/legaleagle or click on the link that's on screen right now or in the description. So right now, for a limited time, get a free 1-month trial of Audible by clicking on the link below. And after that, click on this box over here for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you in court. Breaking news, crypto play turned out to be a big scam. In other news, the sky is blue and those clowns in Congress did it again. What a bunch of clowns.
How does he keep up with the news like that?
Last week, FTX, the second largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world, filed for bankruptcy.
And it's FTX. It's a safe and easy way to get into crypto.
I don't think so.
2022 was a bad year for cryptocurrency, but even in this volatile market, FTX's sudden implosion took people by surprise. Many saw FTX as the squeaky clean white knight in the crypto world, but with FTX in bankruptcy, tens of billions of dollars, aka real money, missing, and giant holes in the balance sheet, there's going to be hell to pay. Which is why lawyers are the real white knights. So what did FTX do wrong? What laws might they have broken, and who is going to jail? Or maybe it would be easier to talk about who's not going to jail. But hold on, folks, we have a lot of ground to cover because there were probably a lot of crimes broken. FTX had over 1 million users and was recently valued at $32 billion. The company was founded in 2019 by Sam Bankman-Fried, a 30-year-old ostensible wonder kid. Bankman-Fried garnered lots of attention for having a romantic relationship with 10 other crypto people and playing League of Legends during meetings, which apparently was a sign of genius and business acumen. And if so, I guess I need to give my intern a raise. But those warning signs didn't stop him from securing massive investments from some of the biggest funders in Silicon Valley. If anything, it helped him procure that funding. Foreshadowing! But Bankman-Fried became the darling of the crypto industry, swooping in to rescue Robinhood and Voyager Digital when they were struggling earlier this year and donating millions of dollars to the Democratic Party. And now, surprising no one, BlockFi, which was rescued by FTX, is now going bankrupt as well. Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF as he was known, got his start at Jane Street, a quantitative trading firm that focused on arbitrage opportunities in capital market flows. After that, he started a hedge fund called Alameda Research in 2017. Bankman-Fried made his first fortune by capitalizing on an arbitrage opportunity where he could buy crypto coins at low prices in the US and sell them at a much higher price in Japan. And in 2019, Bankman-Fried started FTX, a crypto exchange which set out to accommodate the kind of trading that he was doing at Alameda. The exchange made fees on the buying and selling of different assets, some of which are illegal in US because they were too risky. Again, more foreshadowing. But that's one of the reasons why FTX and other companies were incorporated in the Bahamas. And FTX and Alameda also spawned a host of sister companies that are involved in the bankruptcy. Now, FTX became the second or third largest crypto exchange by volume and often became the lender of last resort in many failed crypto projects. Some called Bankman-Fried the JP Morgan of the crypto world, echoing the way that Morgan had scooped up assets at low prices. And Bankman-Fried often suggested that he was going to buy Goldman Sachs at one point. Alas, that day is never going to come because reports now say that Bankman-Fried may have improperly transferred $10 billion in customer money to his hedge fund Alameda Research, and that at least $1 billion of that money is missing. Hackers made off with over $400 million in tokens. Some speculate that this might have been an inside job. And 2 weeks ago, the company said that its tokens were worth about $5.5 billion, but the real value may have been only in the hundreds of millions, with less than $1 million in liquid assets. Bankman-Fried was worth $30 billion at one point, but lost at least 94% of that as it was wiped out in a single day. And all of this has regulators, courts, and lawyers circling FTX's corpse. So there's already lawsuits, and it's possible that everyone is going to jail. And part of the reason is that Bankman-Fried allegedly started moving or lending billions of dollars from FTX, customer money, to Alameda Research, which suffered big losses through risky trades. Alameda put up FTX tokens, known as FTT, as collateral for the loans. This turned out to be problematic because FTX tokens weren't widely traded outside of FTX and were highly correlated with the success or failure of FTX itself. Now, we'll talk about this more in a second, but this is part of the magic beans problem that's inherent in a lot of different crypto projects throughout the entire industry. And recently, FTX ran into financial problems and started shopping around for investments. Bankman-Fried sent investors a term sheet that was a complete mess. According to investors who reviewed the pitch, quote, it contained hastily arranged balance sheets, mostly in unformatted Excel spreadsheets that were replete with unformatted typos and unnamed pages like sheet number 3. No advisors or standard information was included. And because of the sloppy nature of the balance sheet, the data itself was questionable. The balance sheet showed that a lot of Alameda's assets consisted of FTT, which is the same name as FTX's tokens. This meant that the tokens were much less valuable than previously thought. Matt Levine of Bloomberg explains why this is especially notable. Quote, the main attribute is that FTX periodically uses a portion of its profits to buy back FTT tokens. This makes FTT kind of like stock in FTX. The higher FTX's profits are, the higher the price of FTT will be. And as one Twitter user summarized it, quote, I created 1 billion shares for my house and sold one to my wife for $1, valuing my house at $1 billion. Give me $500 million, please. Now, throughout this whole affair, FTX's main competitor was Binance. Its CEO, Changpeng Zhao, started talking trash about FTT on Twitter, saying, quote, as part of Binance's exit from FTX equity last year, Binance received roughly $2.1 billion USD equivalent in cash, BUSD and FTT. Due to recent revelations that have come to light, we've decided to liquidate any remaining FTT on our books. Now, the FTT tokens were also the main liquid asset FTX had to sell to pay users making withdrawals. So if a bunch of people lost faith in FTX and wanted to take all their money out, it would have to sell its own cryptocurrency to get the money. And if people don't have faith in your crypto exchange, they probably don't have faith in your cryptocurrency either. So it might not be worth enough to pay them back. And as a result, FTX crashed upon Zhao's announcement that he was selling all of Binance's FTT, causing the coin's value to plummet. Then there was a bank run or crypto exchange run in which retail investors sought to withdraw their funds at the same time. Though in the aftermath, Binance offered to buy FTX International as sort of a bailout, though Binance later pulled out of the purchase, solidifying the fact that FTX was belly up. This set off a chain reaction as the rest of FTX users tried to pull their money out, but FTX didn't have their money, or to the extent that it had made investments, those investments were illiquid. And Bankman-Fried announced on Twitter that it would be halting non-fiat withdrawals. Days later, FTX, Alameda, and its associated companies filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Now, Chapter 11 bankruptcy is sometimes called a reorganization bankruptcy, and FTX's bankruptcy is complicated because it includes dozens of related entities and shell companies. Over 20 FTX companies have bankruptcy petitions so far, including Alameda Research. The FTX entities filed slapdash bankruptcy petitions asking the court to impose an automatic stay against the collection of any outstanding debts. But the picture got a little clear when FTX filed a motion asking if it could file a list of its 50 biggest creditors by Friday. In the motion, FTX said it could have up to 1 million creditors, probably mostly retail people. It said, quote, as set forth in the debtors' petitions, there are over 100,000 creditors in these Chapter 11 cases. In fact, there could be more than 1 million creditors. Many of these creditors will be FTX customers. In other bankruptcy cases involving crypto, customers have been designated as unsecured creditors, which means they will be last in line for any repayment. Now, 2 days after the bankruptcy petitions, FTX appointed a new CEO to see the companies through bankruptcy, John Ray. Ray, who was previously appointed chairman of Enron after its bankruptcy, stated in his declaration in support of FTX's Chapter 11 filing, quote, never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information. From compromised systems integrity and faulty regulatory oversight abroad to the concentration of control in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals, this situation is unprecedented. This isn't a legal observation, but that's definitely not what you want to hear from the guy that did the unwinding of Enron. So what else did we learn from Ray's declaration? Well, besides the fact that FTX companies had poor to non-existent corporate controls, many of them also gave out personal loans to their owners. Bankman-Fried, for example, got a $1 billion loan from Alameda Research, and some indications estimate that the fair value of all the crypto that FTX International holds is less than $1 billion, far less than Bankman-Fried's evaluation that FTX's holdings of FTT were worth at least $5.5 billion. The declaration also alleges that FTX's financial statements don't include customer liabilities. Now, I'm not an expert in these things, but I don't think that meets GAAP accounting. And if it seems like Bankman-Fried and his Polycule members didn't know what was going on, that's probably because, quote, the FTX group did not maintain centralized control of its cash. Cash management procedural failures included the absence of an accurate list of bank accounts and account signatories, as well as insufficient attention to the creditworthiness of banking partners around the world. I know it's hard to believe, but these crypto people might have made some bad financial decisions. Now, furthermore, Ray attests that, quote, in the Bahamas, I understand that corporate funds of the FTX group were used to purchase homes and other personal items for employees and advisors. And while Ray has been poring over the bankruptcy financials, Bankman-Fried has spent a lot of his time tweeting apologies for his mistakes and giving interviews, which is not a great legal move there. And one interview was a text chain between Bankman-Fried and a Vox reporter in which he tells her that his public beliefs in effective altruism were basically just PR. He said he didn't mean to do unethical things, but quote, each individual decision seemed fine and I didn't realize how big their sum was until the end. And the end result is that these FTX companies are insolvent. And complicating things further, there's the second bankruptcy filed by the Bahamanian FTX company, which claims to be the primary bankruptcy, filing for Chapter 15 bankruptcy. And in fighting those jurisdictional claims, the original Delaware bankruptcy lawyers are claiming that the government officials in the Bahamas are engaging in all kinds of corrupt acts and are basically colluding with Sam Bankman-Fried. It's a giant mess. But bankruptcy isn't their only problem. The companies will have to deal with US and foreign regulators, lawsuits from consumers, and even criminal enforcement actions. So there's little doubt that the government is now investigating. But there are two US agencies that are vying to regulate crypto, and probably this case in particular. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or CFTC. Now, if crypto is a security, then it falls under the jurisdiction of the SEC. But if it's a commodity, then the CFTC gets involved. Now, the CFTC has exclusive jurisdiction over accounts, agreements, and transactions involving swaps or contracts of sale of a commodity for future delivery. The CFTC has asserted jurisdiction over fraud and manipulation involving spot market transactions relating to commodities which underlie futures or swaps. The CFTC CFTC first determined that Bitcoin and other virtual currencies were properly defined as commodities back in 2015. And the CFTC ruled that people who had created a platform for the purchase and sale of Bitcoin options were actually operating a facility for the trading or processing of swaps without being registered as a swap execution facility or designated contract market. The CFTC then initiated enforcement actions focusing on classic cases of fraud and Ponzi schemes. Now, courts are still deciding whether digital tokens are securities or not. They do this according to the Howey test, which refers to the 1946 Supreme Court case in which the Supreme Court set forth a framework for deciding whether an investment contract exists, which states, quote, "There must be an investment of money or other assets in a common enterprise with the expectation of profit."
Oh boy. What? This is what you talk to.
My god, I got so much shit that I need to move.
Profit to be derived from the efforts of others. The absence of one prong will prove fatal to a finding that an investment is an investment contract. And the SEC recently stated, quote, "The main issue in analyzing a digital asset under the Howey test is whether the purchaser has a reasonable expectation of profits or other financial returns derived from the efforts of others." And while this is certainly up in the air, I think it's likely that courts are going to say that cryptocurrencies fall under the category of securities. So FTX executives could be prosecuted under US securities laws. The company may have violated the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, Rule 10b, which makes it illegal to directly or indirectly use any measure to defraud, make false statements, omit relevant information, or otherwise conduct business operations that would deceive another person in the process of conducting transactions involving stock and other securities. And traditionally, violations of Rule 10b have included insider trading, as well as defrauding investors by hiding losses or low revenue with creative accounting practices. And that's not even including the possible violations of myriad different state laws for fraud or misappropriation as well. And although FTX was headquartered in the Bahamas, eventually the company sold products to American consumers. So if you're raising assets from American customers, you're placing yourself within the jurisdiction of US laws. And one of the main issues that looks just super bad, that's a legal term, is that FTX loaned customer money to Alameda Research. It's reported that customers did not know that FTX was using their funds to make financially risky trades. When customers sought to withdraw their money, they discovered that their funds were not available. And there's another interesting wrinkle to this scheme, which is that Alameda would then buy up FTT tokens to prop up FTX. This makes the entire enterprise look more and more like a Ponzi scheme, and where both FTX and Alameda were looking out for each other, but neither of them were helping their investors. Though potentially some of the liability here will depend on the contracts with customers and between the different companies. You can't disclaim fraud in a contract, but it's possible that some of the customers might have affirmatively agreed to some of this behavior by agreeing to the terms and conditions of the exchange. But does this mean that company executives could be charged with crimes? Well, let's start with the most obvious one, wire fraud. Wire fraud is a type of fraud involving the use of telecommunications or the internet. Wire fraud could include any form of electronic media, including emails, social media, text messages, or even good old-fashioned fax machines. If the defendant used interstate telephone calls or electronic communications, then the government can prosecute. And under 18 U.S.C. 1343, there are 4 elements to classic wire fraud. 1, that the defendant voluntarily and intentionally devised or participated in a scheme to defraud another out of money. 2, that the defendant did so with the intent to defraud. 3, that it was reasonably foreseeable that interstate wire communications would be used. And 4, that interstate wire communications were in fact used. So based on what we know, could Bankman-Fried be prosecuted for wire fraud? Well, the DOJ probably faces 2 large hurdles to prosecution. The first would be jurisdictional. FTX and its associated companies are incorporated in the Bahamas, and up until recently, most executives live there. And they would argue that the DOJ doesn't have jurisdiction to prosecute them. But prosecutors could overcome this defense if they can show that there's a nexus between FTX and the United States. Prosecutors would say that FTX does lots of business in America. It has customers in the US, it uses American banks. Its executives frequently travel to the US and further into the crypto business. And it's safe to assume that the DOJ could probably clear that jurisdictional hurdle. Now, the second problem for the DOJ is intent. Section 1343 requires proof that the defendant acted with the intent to defraud, that is, the intent to deceive and cheat. So if Bankman-Fried did a bad job of managing the company, that's not a crime. the government would have to prove that he did it on purpose. Now, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong said that he believed that Bankman-Fried did commit fraud. Like FTX, Coinbase is a crypto exchange, and Armstrong said that he spoke with both Sam Bankman-Fried and Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao, who briefly considered buying FTX. And during those conversations, Armstrong got the impression that FTX knowingly and improperly used customer funds to prop up Alameda.
You know, FTX was in a position where they had this market maker, Alameda, that was investing in risky things. And that's fine. Like market makers, hedge funds, they're designed to take more risk. So it seems they had this solvency issue. And instead of just...
What?
I'm talking to myself.
Sounds about right.
What's he doing?
Your mom.
just letting it blow up. Sam basically said, hey, we have a bunch of customer assets over here at FTX, or he somehow basically made a loan from FTX into Alameda to try to prop it up. I don't know why he did that. I mean, that's the moment in my mind where he crossed the line into probably committing fraud. And I think he probably lied to users, lied to investors, and he went around and tried to bail out these different companies like Voyager and BlockFi and to sort of prop up this thing, and maybe he thought he could trade his way out of it.
So FTX customers believed that their crypto was immediately accessible, but according to Armstrong, FTX used customer assets to fund the operating expenses of the company. But FTX's terms of service seem to clearly prohibit lending on those assets. It says, quote, none of the digital assets in your account are the property of, or shall or may be loaned to FTX Trading. FTX Trading does not represent or treat digital assets in users' accounts as belonging to FTX Trading. So the government will assess all of Bankman-Fried's statements and the actions to figure out if he was just in over his head or whether he knew he was defrauding customers. John Ray accused the companies of commingling assets, using company money for personal projects, and using software to hide their moves from consumers. All of that goes to Bankman-Fried's intent to commit fraud. So I asked former SEC prosecutor Ron Geffner about this whole situation.
With regard to FTX, there appear to be many misrepresentations and acts of fraud based on the facts that are currently available. The conduct that seems to be most egregious are material misrepresentations as to use of funds and where the money was being sent into, where theoretically it was being held on behalf of consumers and investors. It would appear that corporate governance at FTX was, at the very least, we can all agree, sloppy. It may have risen to the level where corporate governance was.
What am I supposed to do?
The fact that there were conflicts of interest, there were misrepresentations made to both the public and to both private investors. The public and private investors made decisions based on false factual information. Whether the principals of FTX will be prosecuted criminally is going to depend on whether the U.S. justice system has standing in any case against FTX, given that much of their behavior occurred offshore. It is out of my wheelhouse, but based on patterns I've seen, even if investors
What
recover
link am I about to hit?
any kind of remuneration or their assets, I have to imagine it would be pennies on the dollar.
I'm
The
about to hit
takeaway I would have
platinum.
is pessimism is a good thing,
Then
no matter
diamond,
what
then
you're
elite,
investing
then
in.
champion.
It's why do I have this opportunity? What is the opportunity? What is the upside? And what is the downside risk? And in many cases, as human beings, when we assess what is the worst case scenario, we rarely ever really assess what is the worst case. We usually assess what's a bad case, but not what is the worst case. And it goes back to, if you don't understand, don't invest. And if you can't afford to lose it all, then theoretically don't invest in these types of opportunities.
Now, that's not the end of the story here, because FTX promoted itself and created an air of legitimacy by associating with celebrities like Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Shaquille O'Neal, Larry David, and Naomi Osaka. And those people have now been sued by investors in a headline-grabbing class action lawsuit. Edwin Garrison is the named plaintiff who had an FTX yield-bearing account, which he funded with crypto assets to earn interest. Now, Sam Bankman-Fried is the lead defendant in this case, but investors are also suing those celebrity promoters. And Garrison alleges that while FTX lured US investors to its yield-bearing accounts, it was, quote, a Ponzi scheme where investor funds were shuffled into related entities to maintain the appearance of liquidity. And while this lawsuit made headlines, it's going to be a really uphill battle to recover from the celebrity endorsers. Plaintiffs allege that defendants violated the Florida Investors Protection Act, and the law extends liability to any director, officer, partner, or agent of or for the seller if the director, officer, partner, or agent has personally participated or aided in making the sale. But it's not clear that a celebrity endorsement makes them an agent of the seller for purposes of this act. It's also not clear that advertising for the FTX exchange, or even theoretically its yield-bearing accounts, qualifies as a security under the act. And as we discussed above, it's unclear whether crypto itself is a security. But advertising for the exchange rather than a specific security adds yet another level of abstraction for the celebrities. And similarly, these lawsuits' claims for unfair trade practices, which relies on an underlying liability, or civil conspiracy, which requires an agreement, would be extraordinarily hard to prove against the celebrity endorsers. Though one wrinkle here is that both Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen are reported to have taken a huge equity stake in FTX, which actually might change the result.
What do you think? Are you in?
You know what? I'm in.
Now, a lot of people want to know whether FTX customers are going to see any kind of recovery, whether through lawsuits or as unsecured creditors in the bankruptcy process. And Chapter 11 has been around for forever and has a solid process, but unfortunately, US bankruptcy courts don't have much experience handling bankruptcy claims of crypto companies. Two crypto lending companies, Celsius and Voyager Digital, filed for bankruptcy protection earlier this year, and customer assets are still frozen. So it'll take lots of time, probably years, to determine whether FTX customers can recover anything. And in fact, the Mt. Gox bankruptcy is 8 years old and is still ongoing. And the fact that crypto is largely unregulated means that customers aren't protected by the same kinds of safeguards that exist when banks and other brokerage firms fail. Now, if you invested in FTX, you'd probably benefit from an exclusive class I made for Nebula called How to Sue Like a Lawyer. It's 90 minutes of information and jokes about the legal system, which you'll need if you actually want to get your money back from FTX. And it's available only on today's sponsor, Nebula. On Nebula, my videos come out early with 0 ads, and I release exclusive content all the time, like an entire video about legal stories that are not safe for work and are too hot for YouTube, which is unfortunately too hot for YouTube, my first full-length documentary, Bad Law Words Good, and 2 full-length classes. Plus tons more, all exclusive to Nebula. And there's other amazing exclusive content like Jetlag the Game, which is basically like The Amazing Race, but for creators, and is honestly my favorite thing on the internet right now. Or if you want to learn more about the FTX situation, you could watch Cold Fusion's videos on FTX ad-free. And on Nebula, you get Nebula First videos released way early, 0 ads, Nebula Originals, and now, for the first time, when you sign up for Nebula directly, you get Nebula Classes, which is a $150 value. Nebula is creator-owned, and all of the creators on the platform share equity. And we've been developing Nebula like crazy. It now has apps for iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and Android TV. Now, Nebula is normally $50 a year, but you can sign up directly with the link that's on screen right now or in the description, and you can get 20% off. That's $40 for the entire year, now with Nebula Classes. It's the best way to support Legal Eagle, but what's more, signing up will actually help countless independent educational creators beyond just Legal Eagle. So sign up now by clicking on the link that's on screen right now, or click on the link that's down below in the description to get a huge discount for Nebula. And after that, click on this box over here for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you in court. Elon Musk owns Twitter, and now Twitter is owning Elon Musk. His first few weeks of ownership have been interesting. And wouldn't you know it, when you light $44 billion on fire for the lulz, you're bound to run into some legal headaches. Now, things are changing so fast that by the time you watch this video, the platform could be gone, it could be borrowed by Mark Zuckerberg, it could be turned into an NFT, I guess, or doing business as usual, who knows. But here's a quick rundown of everything that Musk has accomplished so far. He fired half of Twitter's total workforce and then scrambled to hire some of them back. After stating that Twitter should be politically neutral, he endorsed the Republican Party before the midterms, a bet that quickly backfired. He announced a new rule requiring users engaged in parody to include parody in their bio, and then when that didn't work, to include it in their Twitter name, which is exactly the same thing that The Onion just demolished as being contradictory to the entire point of parody. He promised advertisers that Twitter would not become a free-for-all hellscape, and then loosened up on content moderation, resulting in a measurable increase in people being awful racist or homophobic, and leading to a whole bunch of advertisers leaving the platform, at least temporarily. He got rid of the blue check verification system and replaced it with an $8 a month subscription service that didn't verify user identity, allowing people to impersonate brands and celebrities. That's how we got a seemingly verified George W. Bush tweeting, "I miss killing Iraqis," and a seemingly verified Rudy Giuliani saying, "Nancy Pelosi and I do not agree on many things, but them things hangin', I'll tell you what." Now, all of this has been great fun to observe, but now that Twitter is a raging dumpster fire, Musk has to contend with some serious legal issues, including how he was forced to buy Twitter in the first place, the FTC gauntlet that is facing Twitter, and then there's the wrongful termination suits and possible bankruptcy. It's a real Sue's sue. Now, when we last visited Elon Musk and Twitter, Musk was arguing that Twitter had misled him about the number of bots on Twitter, and that its now former leadership had fired employees without his consent, so he was calling off the deal. At the time, I speculated that it would be tough for him to get out of that deal to buy the company. Take it from Devin from the past. Delaware courts have been known to order specific performance in just such a situation as this. Twitter sued Musk for a specific performance in the Delaware Chancery Court, i.e. they wanted to force him to purchase Twitter at the agreed upon price. The Chancery Court has jurisdiction to hear all matters related to equity, which means that it had the power to compel him to go through with the purchase. Musk wanted a discovery process that would take months, if not years, to complete, but in July, the court ruled that Musk and Twitter needed to be ready for trial by October. That's an insanely fast timeline for a major trial, but such is life in the Delaware Chancery Court. They do not mess around. Presumably feeling that he did not have enough time to make a decent case or just saw the writing on the wall, Musk went through with the purchase and bought the company at the original sales price of $44 billion on October 28th. So in the end, it was much ado about nothing. Now, Musk fans, what are they, Muscovites, I guess, rejoiced because he promised them that he would be a champion of free speech. Musk had assured us that Twitter is the new town square and everyone has a First Amendment right to more or less say whatever they want on the platform, though he did begin to backtrack almost immediately. As Musk said, "By free speech, I simply mean that which matches the law. I'm against censorship that goes far beyond the law." Though Musk's actions didn't match his words almost immediately. When Twitter users started making fun of him, he suspended their accounts. Kathy Griffin probably has an entire mug of billionaire tears by now. And sure, Musk has a legal right to be a delicate, sensitive boy. It just doesn't match his particular rhetoric. The First Amendment prohibits the United States government from censoring speech, but private companies or private individuals can censor speech if they want to. If Musk wants to shut down speech from progressives and liberals and promote speech from conservative voices, he has a right to do that, or vice versa. He can ban people who hurt his feelies. And he can turn Twitter into a hellscape of bullying and racism if he wants to do that. That much is obvious. However, that choice is not without consequences, and Musk got a lesson in the free market almost immediately. At least 50% of Twitter's advertisers have fled the platform since Musk took over. And just as Musk has a right to run Twitter the way that he wants, more or less, advertisers are free to not advertise on the platform. That's the free market at work there. Now, the issue here is that Musk claims to be a free speech absolutist. He apparently believes not just in free speech in the sense that the government can't censor people, but also consequence-free speech. And that's just not how things work. And we know this in particular because Elon Musk keeps firing Twitter employees who either make fun of Elon or say things that Elon doesn't agree with. Now, he can do that, subject to some limitations we'll talk about later, but we can also make fun of him for his free speech hypocrisy. Now, at the same time, Musk temporarily ditched a verification in favor of a pay-per-blue policy, and one of the consequences from that was that an Eli Lilly impersonator promised to make insulin free. And some have speculated this might have cost the company around $15 billion in market share, though I'm skeptical of the causation there. But still, this deters companies from even wanting to engage on Twitter, let alone pay the company to run advertisements. Now, Musk says he's going to create a content moderation council to review suspended accounts, but he also has fired the entire Twitter safety and security team, so he'll have to build that council from scratch. Now, Musk also fired 80% of Twitter's contractors around the world, which maintain the core infrastructure services that keep the site up and running. That's probably not important. And as much as Musk would like to believe that the advertiser problem is caused by activist woke brands, it might have just as much to do with instability and potentially a deteriorating site experience, which might only get worse. And a day after the mass termination, Musk confirmed the dumpster fire, tweeting, "By the way, I'd like to apologize for Twitter being super slow in many countries. App is doing more than 1,000 poorly batched RPCs just to render a home timeline." And independent reports also state that Twitter's codebase suffers from sinusoidal depleneration, which could be fixed with the proper flux capacitors and proton packs. Now, it's been fun watching Elon just tweet through all of this, but in all the excitement, he seems to have overlooked a big legal issue, which is Twitter's consent decree with the Federal Trade Commission. Twitter's chief privacy officer, chief compliance officer, and chief information security officer abruptly quit shortly after Elon rolled out new product features without the security reviews that the FTC required in its decree with the company. The employees went on Slack and warned their colleagues that Musk's new plans are extremely dangerous for our users. Also, given the FTC can and will fine Twitter billions of dollars pursuant to the FTC consent order, extremely detrimental to Twitter's longevity as a platform. And the employees then posted a link to Whistleblower Aid, a nonprofit law firm that helps employees report corporate or government wrongdoing. Now, what caused Musk's privacy and security officers to issue such a dire warning? Well, it started with a consent decree and the government agency responsible for consumer protection, the Federal Trade Commission. It all goes back to 2009 when Twitter's lax security processes allowed hackers to obtain unauthorized administrative control of Twitter, including both access to non-public user information and private tweets. Hackers were also able to send out phony tweets from any account. In 2010, the FTC sued Twitter for misleading consumers about the privacy of their personal information and for failing to protect user phone numbers. In 2011, Twitter entered into a consent decree with the FTC. A consent decree is an agreement that settles a dispute without the defendant admitting guilt or liability. A consent decree has to be approved by a judge, making it enforceable by the court. So the Twitter consent decree barred the company from making misleading statements about the extent to which it protects the security, privacy, and confidentiality of non-public consumer information. And under the terms of the decree, Twitter agreed to maintain a comprehensive information security program and allow an independent auditor to assess its programs every other year for the first 10 years after the decree. In May of 2022, just as Musk was purchasing Twitter, the FTC accused the company of violating the original consent decree. According to the FTC complaint, quote, more than 140 million Twitter users provided email addresses or telephone numbers to Twitter based on Twitter's deceptive statements that their information would be used for specific purposes related to account security. In reality, Twitter is accused of using the personal data to target users with advertising. Twitter settled this claim, paid $140 million in fines, and entered into a new consent decree. The terms of the updated consent decree require significantly more stringent monitoring of Twitter's privacy and security claims, which are audited by a third party. Twitter agreed to conduct a privacy assessment of any new products it launches and provide the assessment to the FTC. Rihanna Pfefferkorn, who used to be Twitter's outside counsel, summarized Twitter's obligations like this, quote, if Twitter so much as sneezes, it has to do a privacy review beforehand. Now, we don't know if and to what extent Twitter is violating the FTC consent decree, but we do know that Elon Musk has a history of not particularly caring what government agencies tell him to do. So it's not clear if Twitter's new or old staff are in compliance with the consent decree, but more on that will probably come out eventually. And while all of this is going on, Elon Musk took the stand on Wednesday in the Tornetta shareholder derivative suit that seeks to nullify the 2018 pay package that he received as Tesla's CEO. Under the terms of that deal, Musk's compensation would be divided into 12 batches of stock that would be dispersed as Musk hit predetermined milestones, which he did. As a result, Musk received over $50 billion in Tesla stock. Now, these are difficult cases to win. Generally, courts don't like to review the business decisions of a company. This class action argues that Tesla's board of directors were unduly influenced by Musk and failed to disclose crucial information about the deal to the shareholders who approved the deal. But Musk had to testify in that case, and because he's a legal genius, he implied that he doesn't need to comply with consent decrees. In reference to an SEC consent decree, Musk apparently said, the consent decree was made under duress. An agreement made under duress is not valid as a foundation of law. to which he was asked, "Are you trained as a lawyer?" To which he replied, "I have some familiarity with the legal system. If you're in enough lawsuits, you pick up a few things along the way." The thing is, the FTC doesn't mess around. Many have argued that the SEC doesn't have enough teeth, but the FTC, sometimes in conjunction with the DOJ, can make things hurt. Not only with much bigger fines, but sometimes jail. Just ask Uber's former chief security officer who was recently convicted on federal charges for obstruction against the FTC. Or ask Facebook, who got hit with a $5 billion fine for violating a consent decree related to Cambridge Analytica. And following on the heels of these mass firings, Elon apparently sent another late night email in which he told Twitter that they needed to be more hardcore, that they needed to respond, they were willing to put in grueling hours or not, and they had until 5 p.m. to respond, or they would be fired with 3 months of severance. Now, given the added debt that Musk added to Twitter, Musk claims that he needs to make things profitable at Twitter, which is why he laid off half of Twitter's staff. And meanwhile, allegedly a lawyer on Twitter's privacy team has apparently overheard Musk's lawyer say that Elon is willing to take on a huge amount of risk in retaliation to this company and users because Elon puts rockets into space and he's not afraid of the FTC. And also, the whistleblowing lawyer also said that Twitter engineers would have to take on the burden of personally certifying that the products they design for Twitter comply with the consent decree. Now, this is obviously hearsay, but it may also be true because there haven't exactly been some vociferous denials of it either. Now, if true, then Twitter is requiring the engineers to take on all the risk, but the consent decree does not allow individual employees to certify Twitter's privacy and security systems. The FTC agreement requires Twitter to submit any significant change in operations to an outside auditor before it can be implemented. And according to the Washington Post, the FTC expects Twitter to submit a new audit in January. The sources said that before Musk even took over, the company was already scrambling to hire enough people to meet that deadline. And the FTC issued a statement, quote, "We are tracking recent developments at Twitter with deep concern. No CEO or company is above the law, and companies must follow our consent decrees. Our revised consent order gives us new tools to ensure compliance, and we are prepared to use them." And that takes us to labor and employment law, because there have been lots of changes for Twitter employees. Musk has fired almost 4,000 Twitter workers, and although Musk has the right to fire employees, this right is not unlimited. Twitter still has to follow federal, state, and local laws. With the Federal Workers Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, also known as the WARN Act, that generally requires businesses with 100 or more employees to provide 60 days notice before engaging in mass layoffs. WARN defines layoffs as those affecting at least 500 employees during a 30-day period, though employers can provide workers with 60 days of severance pay in lieu of giving notice. And terminated California employees have already filed suit under the WARN Act and comparable state laws. Though Musk has several defenses to their claims. He claims that he offered to pay some employees through January 4th, 2023, which could constitute compliance with the 60-day rule. Some employees were offered severance package, but we don't know enough of the details yet to determine whether the packages complied with the law. And Musk can also say that the employees were fired for cause, which was his defense in a similar lawsuit against Tesla. When ex-Tesla employees sued Musk under the WARN Act, he argued that they were all fired for poor performance and were not layoffs requiring advance notice. And Musk is also taking a hardline approach to remote workers. He sent a 2:34 a.m. email informing the entire workforce that they needed to work in the office for at least 40 hours a week unless they're given approval to work elsewhere. And Musk said that he would personally approve all work from home requests. Quote, "Obviously, if you are physically unable to travel to an office or have a critical personal obligation, then your absence is understandable." Now, Musk has the right to require employees to work in the office if it doesn't violate other laws. He'll have to exercise this discretion without running afoul of the Americans with Disabilities Act and other laws prohibiting discrimination against people with disabilities. He'll also have to follow the FMLA and other laws that protect an employee's right to take time off if they're sick or caring for an ill family member. Now, generally, companies of these size have HR departments to handle these kinds of requests and obligations. But sure, Elon is going to personally make all of these determinations. I'm sure that's going to work out fine. So where does this leave Twitter? Well, maybe bankruptcy. Even Elon has explicitly stated that bankruptcy is on the table, which is not something that you want to hear from a new owner just weeks into their tenure. By most accounts, Elon paid too much for Twitter and saddled it with too much debt. It's possible that Twitter shuts down, but it's more likely that it would just go into bankruptcy and the debtors would take a massive haircut. Or you can threaten bankruptcy to force debtors to take a haircut without formally going into bankruptcy. And there are reports that the banks are currently marketing their debt to others and have received offers of 60 cents on the dollar, though it seems that they want at least 70 cents on the dollar. Others have speculated that Twitter might only be worth $8 billion at this point, meaning that Elon and his fellow financiers would lose 80% of their investments. But I guess it could have been worse. They could have purchased FTX. But now that Twitter has fired all the people responsible for making the site safe, you can never be too careful online. And that's where today's sponsor, NordVPN, can help. Because you know that incognito mode isn't actually incognito, right? And NordVPN is more than just a VPN. It comes with a whole suite of threat protection tools. For example, if you follow some of your favorite creators on social media, you might have heard the stories of channels getting hacked. Basically, a creator loses access after a successful attack or a leaked password. And in fact, Alex's Corner, one of our Nebula friends, recently got their YouTube channel stolen and turned into a repository for cryptocurrency scam videos. But NordVPN's threat protection includes specific features to warn you about phishing links, as well as features like a blocker for malicious ads and dark web monitoring to see if your passwords have been leaked. And of course, NordVPN is a great VPN. With Nord, you can surf the web anonymously and your location stays private. It allows me to set my location all over the world, which lets me access different versions of my favorite websites. And when I'm out of the country and try to connect to Gmail or a bunch of other things that I'm logged into, all those accounts usually would freak out and tell me that I'm being hacked. So now I just reroute my connection to the US and my Gmail and everything is perfectly happy. So if you'd like to give NordVPN a try, click on the link that's on screen right now or in the description to get a 2-year plan with a huge discount plus 4 additional months free. And it's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So click on the link below to get a 2-year plan with 4 additional months for free with a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee as well. And after that, click on this box over here for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you. This chess lawsuit is ass. It all started when 31-year-old Grandmaster Magnus Carlsen of Norway, the top-ranked chess player in the world, was dealt a rare tournament defeat by Hans Niemann, a 19-year-old American prodigy ranked 40th in the world, who some have dubbed the bad boy of chess due to his oddly combative.
It takes like 15. No, because it takes like 3 matches, and I have to win them.
Laptop is just running.
I have to get a bunch of kills.
Laptop in.
Carlsen then shocked the chess world by accusing Niemann of repeated.
Then I'm gonna have to make my way up to Diamond, then Elite, then Champion, then Unreal.
No,
This game's worse than Rainbow Six Siege. One thing for sure. That's all I know. 8 Rainbow Six Siege too.
What about 1?
Huh?
What about the first one?
The season of this pretty good. Now just kind of dog. You know? There's a lot of loot in it. Anything down for this wasn't looking for is gonna end.
Cheating in matches. These voices only grew louder after Chess.com, the world's largest online chess platform, concluded after a weeks-long investigation that Niemann had cheated in more than 100 online games, then banned him from the platform. This wild tale has all the makings of a drama fit for a future Netflix series, especially given the salacious internet rumors that Niemann cheated with the help of an adult entertainment device put in an adult entertainment location. This method of cheating, of course, was pioneered by the famous international grandmaster Benoit. Now, Niemann has vehemently denied the cheating allegations and responded to this controversy the way that almost guarantees that you end up on this channel, by filing a $100 million lawsuit accusing the British and colluding to blacklist him.
It's just like, I die every single time.
So let's take a dive into the
now.
Niemann cheating scandal. We'll break down the claims leveled against Niemann, his response, and whether the $100 million lawsuit has any chance of success, or whether he's going to need a silver bullet. Now, all of this drama began on September 4th when Niemann and Carlsen faced off at the Sinkfield in St. Louis. Despite being the lowest ranked player in the tournament, Niemann pulled off a stunning upset against Carlsen in the 3rd round, snapping the world champ's 53-match winning streak. In a post-match interview, Niemann was less than gracious.
I think he's just so demoralized because he's losing to such an idiot like me, you know? It's just, it must be embarrassing for the world champion to lose to me. I feel bad for him.
Niemann attributed his victory to a ridiculous miracle that he happened to study the rare chess opening Carlsen used the morning before the game, allowing Niemann to guess how Carlsen would start.
That's that. That's that.
right there.
Carlsen's move the next day was an even more unusual variation, pulling out of the tournament for the first time in his career and only providing context with a veiled tweet. Grandmaster and chess streamer Hikaru Nakamura interpreted Carlsen's tweet as a veiled accusation that Neiman was a cheater, and then this was the reason for Carlsen's withdrawal.
At the end of
the day, there's nothing. There's nothing, like, nothing is proven, but there is a lot of suspicion. There is a lot of suspicion.
Neiman has a history of cheating online on chess.com and was banned there twice, though Neiman has denied cheating since his last ban when he was 16 and has stated that he has never cheated in an in-person game or when prize money was involved.
I've never, ever in my life cheated in an over-the-board game, in an online tournament. They were an unrated game.
Following a game on September 19th in which Carlsen resigned after the first 3 moves in apparent protest, the next day Carlsen implicitly accused Neiman of cheating and declared he was unwilling to play against people that have cheated in the past. Carlsen tweeted that Neiman's over-the-board progress has been unusual, and throughout our game in the Sinkfield Cup, I had the impression that he wasn't tense or even fully concentrating on the game in critical positions, while outplaying me as black in a way I think only a handful of players can do. This game contributed to changing my perspective. On October 4th, Chess.com released a bombshell 72-page report concluding that Neiman has cheated much more than he has publicly admitted to, including in many prize events, at least 25 streamed games, and 100 plus rated games on Chess.com, as recently as when he was 17 years old. These findings contradicted Neiman's public claims that he only cheated twice, that he never cheated in prize money events, and that he stopped cheating at the age of 16. In support of their findings, Chess.com used a variety of cheating detection tools, including a comparative analysis of the moves made versus the moves recommended by supercomputers.
What's up, bitch?
Hola.
Hola.
Zach, when do you want to play that game?
What game?
Silver Machines.
Don't know.
You good, dude?
Yeah. Just looking for mods. Yes, we do.
Have we finished that field of trees?
Fuck no. Probably never will. Probably Farming Sim fucking 2023 will probably come out before I finish that shit.
But still. What a grind.
Yeah. I just gotta get everything set up first. Rearranging the entire farm and putting vehicles in places and shit. So that everything isn't fucking everywhere. All over the place. Creeper's gonna get on and he's gonna have like fucking 30 mods to fucking install. I'm sure he'll be really happy about that. I'm sure he's gonna be real fond of it.
Poor Cooper.
That's what happens when you when you slack on playing Farming Sim, I guess. Like how you have some of these like pretty realistic looking tractors, and then you just have some of these that are just look like boxes. Like the entire thing is just one solid color. Or how some of them aren't even textured. It's kind of funny. It's like good to see you put lots of effort into it. Let's look at Google. See. Does anything. I might want.
Well, you have to grind the trees on farming sim 2023 if you do get 2023. Imagine that. To redo it again.
Nah, I'm gonna do it way differently though. And hopefully there'd be some better mods for cutting trees.
You use the mods? I didn't even know farming sim was a thing.
Yeah, since like 2011 or something.
Yeah, no kidding. Freaking, I've got the 20. I got every single version leading up to 2022, except for right now 2022 yet.
I played.
No, I have
15.
Oh,
I
yeah,
have,
14 and 15. I have 14.
I don't have any of that.
14 is free on your phone. You can get it on your phone for free.
Yeah, let me show you real quick. Let's see here, yes. Here, watch my stream. Okay. So, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2017. I think I played the crap out of 13. This one was so fun.
Did you grind the trees?
No, that you can't do trees until 15.
Oh.
No, you can't. It sucks a suck, I guess.
Yeah. Alright, now I'm gonna actually download. Which one doesn't take up an insane amount of space? Number 15.
You download a virus.
No. I'm gonna go ahead and download 15. Oh my gosh, I remember why I loved 15 and why I played 130 hours of it. Because frickin' this was the first version that they added the truck. And it was awesome. Oh shoot, this dude's frickin' piled up a bunch of trucks in front of a train.
It's not true, actually. 14 has trucks in it.
Oh. I never did 14. I meant like 15 was the first one I had. Thought you could do that in. Look at this, this dude's piled up like freaking 50 trucks in front of a train.
Did he stop the train? Yeah, he did.
Is this the whole point? See if you can stop the train.
Fuck no, you can't stop it. It isn't programmed in to be stopped.
Oh my gosh. It's just flying everywhere.
Let's compare that to 20 to 22. See what the difference is.
Yeah, seriously. I think I'm gonna actually install 15, and then I'm gonna freaking hack the shit out of it.
Not much you can do, I don't think. Are the files open as much as 19 and shit is?
Mm-hmm.
I said, are the files as open as 19 is, or?
Pretty
19 is open source. Well, not necessarily open source, but their files are pretty much open. What the fuck is this? That's 20. That's. I don't think they. I don't know if they do anything.
Yeah, you can actually.
Well, you can mod it, not hacking and modding are two completely different things.
Oh, I meant like mod. Oh my gosh. Frickin'. I'm gonna be so mad when I get my new computer because then I'm gonna have to go through this entire process of installing everything again. And it's not like I can just transfer the hard drives. Because frickin' I'd have to transfer both drives to my new computer. But I'm only gonna transfer one.
All you got is unlimited cache, that's the only thing you have.
For farming sim 15.
Yeah. I can change the time speed and walk like 1,000,000 miles an hour.
It's actually funny, unlimited cache is it? Damn.
They pretty much
optimize your browser. What?
So they all pretty much have money one.
Farming Sim 15. Farming Sim 22 has game speed and money. This Farming Sim 2013 doesn't have anything.
Probably too old.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then obviously Farming Sim 14's on here. Oh, Xbox only. I see. Farming Sim 14, Farming Sim 16.
Xbox.
Yeah, I see. So yeah, so the even ones are like console. The odd ones aren't. Farming Simulator 17, Windows 10. Oh, bullshit. It's right here. Okay, Farming Sim 15. There we go. Unable to sync. Eat my balls, buddy. Yeah, probably because the freaking thing it has to sync with has been like destroyed. So the computer has to sync with is destroyed. Oh boy, here we go with changing resolution. And audio. Oh my gosh, give me one more freaking resolution notification. I'm gonna kill you. In real life. Oh my gosh, that music was amazing. Oh, this one also had multiplayer. Oh, dang it, you can't loop graphics like that. Max graphics, max settings, just turn everything up. Sweet. Oh my gosh, they have a benchmark option?
Why?
Look, they've got a freaking benchmark option. Start the benchmark. Game is being loaded, please wait. It's actually crazy.
Don't think you're gonna be really stressed. Well, maybe your laptop, I guess.
Why would my laptop have freaking stress, dude? This graphics card came out way after this. Holy shit, I had a big Dr. Pepper sitting on my shelf.
And that fell.
Imagine.
No, that'd be perfect.
Alright, here we go, guys. Starting the Farming Sim 2015 benchmark max graphics on everything.
That looks like ass.
I know, right?
Compared to fucking FS22. Maybe FS22 might do it, but I don't think it has benchmark. I doubt it.
Interesting.
Look tired.
I love the Farming Sim 15 maps, though. I remember those maps are awesome.
Yeah, well, now we have modded maps, so I can get any map I want. Oh, the water.
Ah, the water. The water.
The water's not terrible. It's just the fucking ground around it. It looks like trash.
Yeah, that's true. Resetting scenario. You don't need to reset nothing.
They can bow. I'm down bow.
Oh, now it's the actual benchmark. I see. It was loading everything. Now it's the actual benchmark. Okay.
Well, if that's a fishing link, then what's the original one then?
Basically, I forgot about this.
Gotta love fishing links. I know, right?
Oh, crap. I can't get out of the benchmark.
No, you gotta wait for it to finish.
No. Oh, yes, they kept that freaking graphic for like the past all the way up until 17.
What?
And then they started changing the graphics of the hay falling out of that thing.
Yeah. Some people hate it, some people like it.
It's nostalgic for me because this is the game I played the most when I was little because I just loved like the open sandbox and stuff.
When I was little, I played Minecraft.
Yeah.
Well, I did a lot of Minecraft too. Actually, I did both. I probably did more Minecraft when I was little, but I also
the
did a lot of
Pocket
farming.
Edition,
So.
it just hit different for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh yeah,
just
Pocket
the
Edition.
Edition, bro. I don't know why. It just
Nostalgia.
It's not even that. It's just I don't know. I felt different.
It's just better.
I felt different while playing it than I do now. Now it's just kind of like
an inconvenience.
No, it's just I don't know.
I kind of see it as an inconvenience, honestly.
It puts you in a different mood. I don't know. It's fucking weird. What is this mine? A false advertisement.
Not here. Average FPS, which is limited, 60.4.
My computer can't handle Minecraft that much, but it can handle Call of Duty.
Well, it depends on what it's taking from, CPU or GPU. And it depends on which one's
So,
which.
Yeah. So when I upgrade my computer, the bottleneck on my laptop right now is my CPU. My CPU can only be clocked up to just under 4 gigahertz, and it only has 6 cores. And it's just not as fast. It's not a great CPU. The GPU is like a mixture between a full-size GTX 1060 and a laptop, so it's got somewhere between there. So it's a very powerful GPU, capable of running like Assassin's Creed at max graphics. But my CPUs were at bottlenecks the whole entire thing.
I'm bottlenecked by my GPU for.
I don't even know what CPU and GPU are.
Processor and graphics card.
Oh, my graphics card is a 4090. No, 4080.
Must be nice.
Alright, how does a 4080 if it can barely handle Minecraft, you said?
No!
What Minecraft are you playing, may I ask?
Yeah, no kidding. Frickin', I can run. Holy crud! Why do I have like 19 save games on here?
What? On what?
I'm gonna show my card.
On Minecraft, I had like 100.
I had it on my cat Kindle. I wonder if I still have it. I don't even remember what it was on. Oh, I think the screen broke on it. That's why. I was actually really upset about that.
The reason why I never really played that good of a game when I was little is because my brother kept on hogging the Xbox 360.
Ugh, that is like one of the worst consoles, I swear.
Xbox 360 was goated, bro. I'm kidding. No.
I mean, it was not good, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, there isn't even text in fucking in the fucking Minecraft. There is no chat in it. It had like the least amount of features for Minecraft. It's like fucking unfathomable. I literally went over to my friend's house and he had fucking Minecraft and was like, holy shit. There's like nothing. There isn't even commands. It's like, how? Why? It's just, I don't know.
Somebody said I was uglier than Golem from not Harry Potter, the Lord of the Rings.
I don't watch Lord of the Rings, so no idea.
I forgot who that guy was, but I know he was creepy. I don't know why somebody called me that.
Some nice fucking mods. I don't know what category this shit is in. I wish there wasn't a fishing link and that was the actual link. Because that kind of sucks. I want the mod.
Wow, there's a lot of things here.
What is this? What version is this one? Yeah. What the hell?
Ooh, I got a good weapon. And it has a scope.
The texturing on that truck is something else. I need to just download this. And then just...
I'm gonna be an Oompa Loompa even though I'm taller than them.
Sure.
Like no joke.
If you're shorter than a fucking Oompa Loompa, then you have a fucking issue.
Got an issue if you're shorter than an Oompa
If
Loompa.
you're a midget, then that's fine. That's different. But
Yeah. Dobby. Why did that just appear in my head? I just said Dobby. What is this?
Dorabay. Are these farming sim mods or are these actual like dealerships? This is an actual dealership, I think. Yeah, this is an actual car dealership. That don't help me too much. Doesn't now. Yeah.
Does this kid die to me? That's my question.
World's largest pickup truck. I already seen that shit. Oh, I didn't put FS22 at the end of it. Probably would have helped. Yes, give me the mod, not the actual like legit thing. I don't feel like buying a semi truck today. Not really into that right now. Yeah. It looks completely different from the fucking pictures. I feel ripped off. And I wish this wasn't a goddamn phishing link. I want that mod. But I don't know where the actual website is. I guess I can start by looking. I know what I want, but I don't know what it's called. No, Blue, I don't want you to have my location. No, thank you.
Jingle bells.
Sir, I hate to inform you, but you're a ways away from that season.
No, I'm not. It's Christmas.
It's fucking May or April. I think it's April, right? Yeah,
you don't know what month it is?
I don't fucking care to look.
It's April, not May. January, February, March, April. It was just February.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have a fucking calendar shoved up my ass 24/7.
There's a calendar on your PC?
Yeah, that's what I just looked at. I'm currently doing shit. And April isn't of any importance per se, from my current knowledge. So.
Yeah, I didn't know that over there. Oh wait, why'd you go mute?
Why did he go on deafen?
Those already deafened.
I know, I see. Yeah, he probably got a call. I also love how that website immediately fucking muted my mic when I did that.
Well, that's like kicked me out and telling me, and it said, come back when you're 21. It didn't continue.
Why is everything fucking infected with shit? What the hell? Can I not just get a simple fucking mod without getting a virus? Jesus.
No, you shall not.
Yes, give me this fucking mod already. And give me the mod, not a virus.
You want a free virus, sir?
No, I don't. But I'm sure one of the 6 antivirus shit I have installed will probably catch it. Don't ask why.
Oh, this kid's trash. He got killed. He's trasher than Helen Keller if Helen Keller could play a game.
Is Helen Keller even popular? May I ask?
Like these kids are trash. Get out of my lobby.
Is Helen Keller even popular?
Huh?
Is Helen Keller even popular?
Helen Keller was deaf, mute, and blind. And crippled.
I guess I got something in common.
Did you go copy people Helen Keller? And then they'll be like, oh.
You do realize that 90% of people probably don't even know what the fuck that is?
You don't know who Helen Keller is?
I have never fucking heard of it.
She discovered Morse code.
See, I looked at that shit a long time ago. That's the thing.
She was smart, but not smart, you know?
Smarter than you, I guess.
Yeah, right. How do you know?
Because you didn't invent Morse code or didn't decrypt it or whatever. Hey, you know, sometimes the truth hurts.
I'm gonna call my mommy.
Oh, boo-hoo. What is she gonna do, huh? Yeah,
Execute him.
execute who? You don't even know where I live.
I'm joking.
What the fuck version is this? Does that even say what version?
Wowzers, bro. Calm down, bro. It's just a joke, bro. Calm down.
How am I supposed to know if this mod works if it doesn't tell me what fucking version of Farming Sim it works on? I guess I could just guess based on the textures. And based on the textures, I'm gonna say it's probably 19.
Yeah, hacking kid. I'm in top 10? Okay. But they destroyed the kids.
Oh my god, there's a fucking caterpillar, combine.
Nice.
I know, right? So this should hopefully actually work. That's a sick looking truck, though.
This kid is gonna destroy me. Ow!
It's a wonderful thing called
YMCA. The YMCA. Hey, that's not nice.
Oh, while I was there, when we were doing a thing, they said when the light turns to yellow, you should go faster. They give bad driving advice.
Oh no, that's not bad driving. My dad did that, and he said, this is for my country.
Yeah. So you go to jail for running a red light. Or speed.
No, and then he crashed into like a van with a yellow bus.
A van?
Yeah,
with a yellow bus.
A yellow bus. A yellow bus. It was a school bus.
And then went to jail for manslaughter.
No, there was a big explosion. I think he just caused fireworks. Because there was red in it, too.
A bus full of children and fireworks. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Very realistic scenario. I mean, I guess technically, that sounds like some shit in Florida, I guess, but you never know these days, I guess. Holy shit. Some of these mods work. That's actually fucking... Some of this shit is cool.
Oh, this is...
What about that kid? What? What is inherently so funny?
Bo, Jesus Christ. Of course you have to have that weapon. Wow. So good.
Yeah, why not? Fuck it.
Oh, shut up! Oh, because like, this man has... They need to get rid of that weapon from the game. It's so annoying. to play against.
Yeah, it happens. I'm curious. I don't think. Oh, I forget. I keep forgetting. I don't have to restart Farming Sim every time I install mods. It's actually kind of nice. I gotta figure out how to download. I really need to like move the mod folder for Farming Sim. My fucking.
Ooh, 93% until I hit platinum. About to hit platinum. One more game. One more game.
Imagine you die. How do you? Can you?
Hey, no. You don't need to win the game to get platinum. You just need to kill enough people.
Can you lose your ranking?
If you lose a game with like 15 kills, then like you'll level up a lot. From like, let's say that you're gold 1. You'll level up from gold 1 to probably gold 2 with 93%.
That is, I love how fucking Google just gives you completely opposite responses.
Yeah.
What the fuck you type in? Like, I typed in how to move the mod folder for Farming Sim, and then it gave me Sims 4 shit. It's just very relevant.
There you go. Why do gods have weapons in this game? That's my question. Can't they just like kill you with a finger? This game is not realistic.
This is a gratifying link, I'm gonna be pissed. Anyway, it doesn't even work. Nice. What the fuck? This shit, it's not even relevant. There needs to be a browser that just like gives you just exactly what you need, instead of like 60 other things you don't need.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. No! Let's eat it to be jolly.
Yeah, that's called December.
Hey, let me be jolly in peace.
No.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. Good tidings we bring for you and your kin.
I need to find like a fucked up version of that song.
Sweet home Alabama. Meow meow meow. Riptide South Georgia.
Floyd.
Meow meow.
So it's Floyd in the September 11th situation.
My dad said that was a good reason that happened.
Got some never mind.
My dad said that Abraham Lincoln was fake.
I think your dad is high.
And then he said manslaughter is good.
May I ask, is your dad a serial killer, perhaps?
Let me think. He might be, he might not be, I don't know. He just says that he goes out late at night.
That's a that's probably a bad thing if you have to think about if it's bad or not. He is or isn't.
Hey, at least my dad was there for me.
So is mine. At least I have one.
Yeah. I don't know people end up. Eyes up above. Da, 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 da. Mini? historically accurate, boing. What? That makes zero sense. Guys, I hate this game.
Then don't play it. Simple. If you don't like it, then don't play it. Oh, I'm curious. How many gigs is my mod folder?
This kid's actually trash at the game.
3.15 gigabytes. And that has filled up my entire C drive. And I need, hence the reason I need to move it.
I have a corrupted drive.
Uncorrupted.
Oh, it's hard to uncorrupt it.
Reset it. Actually, I probably
it has like multi-gigabyte games on it.
Doesn't that suck?
I don't feel like reinstalling them.
Can you still use it, or?
Yeah. It's just I can't install any more games on it.
Is there like a program that like can reset it or something? I'm sure it's
No.
I know there's programs that test drives and shit. Test it for fake or not. Now we hope that this actually works. If so, then life will be great. If not, then fuck me. Did it do what I wanted it to do? Sort by date modifiers. I don't think it did anything like what I wanted it to.
Hey, buddy.
The fuck? You good, bro? Can confirm you are dying. Should get that checked out.
I sound like my dad because he smokes a vape.
Alright, I'm gonna just gonna leave you to some health issues and brain issues.
I don't because I am a good person. And I care for my health.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident in that sentence are you? Cool. Assuming that farming sim isn't opening.
This game makes me angry.
That's like a skull issue. It's 4 o'clock already? God damn. Well, seeing the fact that I can't even open farming sim is a great sign. Why do you do this to me?
Ooh, trash, you're trash.
Your mom's trash. I should have saved my game. Oh well.
My mom's actually a good person.
I would hope.
My mom has not committed any sins.
That's probably not true though.
But then how was I made?
Huh?
Then how was I made if you didn't commit any sins?
I didn't say that. Or when you said it, not me.
I'm getting into the platinum link.
Platinum Records.
Plutonium, I meant.
Plutonium Records. Plutonium Records.
Hey. This man did not loot with an inch. Okay, so get rid of this. Grab this. Grab the med kit, actually.
Ah. What the fuck? Where did my file go?
Now, since I'm right next to the storm, I'm just gonna stay right here till I have to leave.
Everyone tells me that this filtering shit doesn't work very well. Why does it have to put all this random...
Gong, qigong, 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 gong, qigong, qigong, qigong. That song I had to learn in music class when I was in 4th grade.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm a big boy!
Congrats.
Congrats, is that all you gonna say? Oh,
What the hell do you want me to say, boy?
I want you to say... nothing. Yeah. Because I'm mad now, you made me angry.
Oh, it's too bad I don't care. Isn't it? I just realized this is all fucking farming sim mods. Or not farming sim mods, fucking...
What's a con artist? What's a con artist?
Oh boy. Don't worry about it. Why is there like 60 million farming... What the fuck? I can't speak, Jesus. Truck simulator mods in this folder. Why? I'm sure that I'm definitely not going to fuck anything up by moving all of this random ass shit into one folder.
Something good.
Uh-oh. Oh.
Hey! I got some good weapons on me.
And then we will go here.
Drop down. Drop down like I dropped your mom down in bed.
Imagine.
Oh.
Imagine that.
How do I come up with these in my head, though? Like, I don't try to come up with them, but they just come up with me.
They come up with you? Interesting.
Interesting. Oh no, I ran over a frog.
You ran over a frog. You will be sentenced to death.
Yeah. It made me crash my vehicle.
Can I change it just through Steam? That'd be really nice. Farming sim.
So I'm just gonna run into these guys. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna run into those guys, because they, You are high, brother.
You're high. You're higher than a kite.
Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy.
Higher than a kite on methamphetamine.
What do you mean? You're higher than the clouds.
Yeah, it's because I'm a god. Bitch.
No, you're not a god. You're just a person.
I'm just
An average person.
Another nobody.
No, you're not a nobody. You're a good person.
That's what they all say.
They all say. Totally, buddy. So that means you're a bad person. Yeah, you're a very bad person.
Fuck you. Fuck you, kid.
Hello. Shut up, little boy.
I'm not little, I'm taller.
How tall are you? How tall are you?
5'10" or 5'11" around. How tall are you?
5'6", 5'11".
Yeah, that's what I thought, bitch. Unless that's 5.
But I do weigh 150 pounds.
You beat me in that category. Congratulations.
Listen, but it's like 30 pounds, like 5 pounds is body weight. No, not body weight. 5 pounds is muscle mass.
Your mom is muscle mass.
Yeah, because she works as a paramedic.
Oh, nice.
But she never helped me up when I was down.
God dang it. Got him. Bro has some skill.
That's all you gotta say about. Oh no, I'm low on fuel.
Oh, would it be if my credit card slipped?
My credit card slipped when I got you.
Yeah. Oops, my dick slipped. What a trap.
Oh, that's how my parents made me. Question mark?
I wonder, I don't think it worked.
My parents made me by doing the devil's tango.
They did it by doing your mom.
Okay, buddy. So what? Okay, so I'm running.
You better be. So long
They got third party.
Long story short, I don't think this worked.
Ain't no way. I put 100 bullets in this man. Christ.
It's 100 less. 100 not enough, I guess.
No! You make me angry.
Change my settings.
Yes! I got the platinum. Hey, I am.
Platinum in a game that nobody cares about.
I'm just happy. Hey, let me be happy.
There's no happiness in this world.
Let me be happy. My mom said I was special. Unless she called me a pleasant surprise. No joke, that's actually what she said to me.
Can't tell
I'm not lying.
Can't tell whether that's an insult or a compliment.
She said, oh, we didn't want you, but you were there.
Damn.
What are you playing? Again.
Farming sim.
I just meant, he's AFK.
He's on the phone with somebody. He's on the phone with a road barrier right now.
I don't even know
I
what.
just had to call my concrete barrier up, you know.
Yeah. You wanna play Logic Phone?
No, I'm trying. I really wanted to move my mods to a different folder, but.
Go.
Oh no, I just fucked up. I fucked up. No.
I'm gonna go to sleep because
it's 4.
Oh, what? I can still sleep.
How late did you stay up?
I didn't stay up.
And why the fuck are you going to bed at fucking 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Because I just did what I wanted and now I'm kinda tired from doing stuff.
Phas is always an option. The Phas option.
You mean the fat option because I already chose that one.
I don't believe that's what I said, but okay.
Yeah, but I did what you want. I did what I wanted. Just want to talk to you. Yeah, because you know. Yeah. Don't you dare put me in the gay chamber. I'll leave before you put me there. Hey, bye.
Oh, what now?
Bye. Bye, I'm gonna go to sleep. Bye, I was going to. Bye. Bye.
Ah, GG. Why is this not fucking transferring? Is it really that big of fucking... Oh. It's son of a bitch. I know why. It's because it's on here. Can I control Z it? If I just cancel. Oh my fucking god, I just realized. Never mind. Uh-oh, why are you not responding? Why did you do this to me? Now my computer's not running. Bruh. Can I find this item? Skip. Alright, what the fuck just happened? Alright. We need to go into mods. And then we'll go here, and then... No. It's here and drag them in. There we go. Now it's like so much faster, because it's not from my C drive, it's just slow as hell. Skip this file. Farming Simulator.